All right, so I'm making this video today to help out anybody who is thinking about competitive shooting, getting into USPSA, IDPA, or even still challenges, right? If you're on the fence about it, you don't know where to start, you don't know what gear you need, you know, what clubs to look for, how to sign up. So in this video, I'm gonna cover, just the basics of how to get started, right? I'll go over some gears you need, where to sign up, pretty much the whole process. We'll talk about divisions, classifications. I'm not gonna go in too much details on those things, but I'll touch on them and just kind of help you guys out to get started. Because at some point we get tired of the single lane range. The range Nazis. You can't double tap, you can't rapid fire, you can't draw from the holster, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? It just gets boring. It takes the fun and enjoyment out of going to a range and shoot. So we get to a point where we want to increase our abilities. We want to get better at shooting. We want to train better, we want to train more. So jumping into like some of these competitions, USPSA, IDPA, still challenges will definitely help you, elevate your shooting skills, and you're just gonna enjoy shooting so much better. So, like I said, I'm gonna jump in and just kind of walk you guys through the process from beginner, all the way through. And I hope this video helps, help some of you guys out. All right. This is the gear that you guys are gonna need, all right? Handgun, whatever you guys have available, whatever you guys have right now, whether it be a full size or compact. I wouldn't recommend a subcompact for mag capacity reasons, but at least a compact I would go with. You need a good holster, belt, and 3 mag pouches. That's really it. That is your basic gear that you need to get started, right? So like in this case, I got one of those belts that it's a 2-belt system with the Velcro. It's pretty solid. You don't need that to get started. If you got the money, your budget allows you to go right ahead, right? Double alpha, make a good setup. You guys can get that, but you don't need that to get started. So you can get started with whatever you have, right? As long as you got an outside the waistband holster, you got your handgun, it could be your duty gun or whatever the case is. Whatever gun you have will determine what division you jump in, right? So if you have an optic on, let's say you got a Glock 17 with an optic, well, you can start in carry optics. You don't have an optic, you can start in production, right? So you'll kind of go through the divisions to see. But this is really all you need to get started, guys, all right? Holster, belt, 3 mag pouches, and a gun. You are in, you're ready to go, and that's pretty much it. Now we talked about gears. Well, how do you find the matches, right? Where do you go? How do you find the clubs? All right, so now we're gonna get into where to go, what website, how to sign up, how to navigate through all the local matches, and how to find certain competitions, right? Certain matches that you're looking for. You may be looking for USPSA, IDPA. They have still challenges, 2-gun, 1-gun, 3-gun. So different clubs offer different matches. So let's jump right into it. I'll show you guys, where to go, how to sign up. All right, so to sign up, you will go to Practice Score. Website is called Practice Score. You're gonna get on there, you're going to sign up, right? Create an account is free. And once you create that account, you're going to go on search, put in your zip code or your city, and that's going to pull up all the clubs in your area, right? Once you pull up the clubs, you can just click on any of the clubs, and you're gonna be able to see all the matches that these clubs offer. And from there, you just kind of pick, right? Go through the description, it tells you exactly when the match starts, when the registration opens, how many rounds, pretty much all the information you're gonna need for, for the match. So let's say you wanted to do a still challenge, you would click on the still challenge. It'll tell you exactly all the information, and so you would just sign up from that point forward, right? Let's say you want to do a USPSA match, you would sign up. Once you click on the match, you would go ahead and select your division, your classification. If you want to pick a category, you do that, you pay the fee, and you register. That's it. So now once you register, it's going to take you to squad, right? You can view squatting, and so basically what the squatting is going to be the group of shooters that you're going to be shooting with for the entire match. So for example, if the match has 6 stages, that means that there's going to be 6 squads, right? And there are usually 10 to 15 shooters per squad, depending on the club, depending on what's going on. It could be a few more, a few less, but typically I see 10 to 15 shooters per squad. So for example, let's just say there are 6 stages and you signed up to shoot in squad 4. Well, that means that you're going to start in stage 4. So when you get there, you're going to be able to see where stage 4 is, right? Which one of the bays is dedicated to stage 4 or squad 4, and it usually goes from 1 to 6. So if you started in squad 4, that means you'll be in stage 4. After you shoot that stage, you move to stage 5, and then you move to stage 6, and then you'll go all the way down to stage 1, 2, and then you finish at stage 3. So that's how the staging and the squatting work. So once you register, you can just go ahead and just squad and pick a squad, and that's pretty much it. Once you pick the squad, that's it. You're pretty much good to go. Now once you get there, if you're not sure where the squad is or stage 4 is, for example, if that's what you sign up in, you can ask a match director, you can ask anybody, they'll point you to where stage 4 is or squad 4. Or you can just walk the stages. You'll see where it says stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So stage 4 would be squad 4. All right, I hope that makes sense. All right, so USPSA membership, you don't need one to start shooting in these matches. Whether it be USPSA, IDPA, Still Challenge, you don't need a membership. However, I would recommend just go ahead and get a membership. It's not expensive. I think it's somewhere around $60 a year. That will allow you to track your progress. So every classifier you shoot, it'll get uploaded to the USPSA, and you can track your classification, right? So small price to pay for decent tracking. So again, not mandatory, but I would recommend go ahead and just get a membership. Right, so when you get to the match, what to expect. So I kind of go over what the expectation is. I'll roll some footage of looking at the stages. We get pre-plan the stage, walk around. There's also the shooter's safety brief right before the match starts. So all right, let's talk about the safe area. That is the only place that you are allowed to handle your firearm. All right, once you get there, all these matches, they run a cold range. That means that no ammunition whatsoever, not in a safe area. Your firearm is always unloaded, and the only time that you are to handle your firearm is when you're at the firing line or in the firing box when you're ready to shoot, and the RO tells you to go ahead and make ready. That is the only time that you're allowed to take that gun out of that holster, unless you go to the safe area. If you need to check your gear, check your sight, whatever you need to do, that is the time and place for you to do so. Nowhere else, and no ammunition in the safe area. Do not take your mags with you in the safe area. No ammunition. That is very important to understand. All right, that is the only place that you can handle your firearm, and no ammunition. Yeah, right now I'm just walking the stage, do a little planning, right? See where all my targets are, how many rounds I need, where I need to reload. So yeah. All right, so I typically like to get to the matches early. So if the match starts at 8 o'clock, I like to get there at 7:15. That gives me enough time to actually go and walk the stages, right? It's important to really understand the stage setup, where your targets are. Sometimes you have swingers, and you just need to know where they are, and take the time to walk the stage, get familiar with, your starting positions, how many rounds, count your rounds, and throughout the stages, throughout the day, people right before the match starts, you still get an opportunity to walk the stage. But I just like to get there early, whereas barely anybody or just 2-3 guys, and I'm just really taking my time to walk the stage, to plan, and to understand the course of fire in general. So I think that's a good practice. All right, so let's talk a little bit about divisions. I'm not going to get too detailed into it. You guys can go to the USPSA website and just kind of read through all the divisions and the rules and what it entails. So just to keep it brief, from what I'm seeing, the most popular divisions are going to be your carry optics, limited optics, open. It's pretty much some of the most popular, right? So you do have a few other divisions. Like I said, you guys can go and take a look, read them through. But for example, production is your basic gun, right? Like your G19, G17, your MMPs, stock guns with no modifications. That would be like a production division. You throw an optic on that, you got carry optics. So that's one of the most popular divisions. This is the division that I like to shoot in, carry optics. So it's really your stock gun. You put an optic on it. You're allowed small modifications, like you can upgrade your trigger, you can have lightning cuts, but you cannot have port. So once you throw a port or a compensator on the barrel, that puts you in the open division. So limited optics would be like your 2011s, for example. You can have throw an optic on that. You can have a magwell. So in carry optics, you cannot have a magwell. So if you want to run a magwell, that's going to bump you to limited optics or open, depending on which gun. So just for beginners, really depends on what you like to shoot. Check out the different divisions, different options. You may just have a 2011 sitting around and be like, hey, you know what, I want to jump into limited optics. Hey, by all means. You may have, I don't know, maybe a Glock 17, a Glock 34, a full-size MMP, and you just want to run, carry optics division. Great. So these are basically your basic divisions. Open is pretty much your race guns, right? Everything goes. Make it as racy as possible. Those things can get very expensive. So really, it's up to you what your preference is, what your budget is, and get out there and start shooting with whatever you have, and then from there you can kind of see what your preference is, and then you can go whatever division you choose. So that's pretty much it for like the divisions. Now that you pretty much got everything situated, you've showed up to your first match, now you're ready to shoot your first stage. I'm gonna say that some of the most important things to keep in mind is safety. Safety is very important. Understand the safety rules, understand your 180, that 180 degree, of safety, not to point your muzzle in those directions. Always keep your muzzle pointed downrange. When you're moving, when you're doing your reloads, keep in mind those things, and I think you'll be okay.
Are you ready? Stand by. Good. Nice. Next string. Are you ready? Stand by. Attaboy. Finish them. Good. Right. Go Claire. If Claire, hammer down holster. 753.
Good job.
I see one Charlie and that's it. 6, 6, 6. And one Charlie. Make ready. Looks hot. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. The left. Are you ready? Stand by.
All right, so the last thing that I got for you guys today is that, so who should sign up for like a USPSA match, a still challenge, IDPA? All right, so you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be, proficient. However, though, I will say this: you should have your fundamentals down pat before you go and shoot one of these matches. All right, what I mean by the fundamentals, you need to be very familiar with the safety rules, the fundamentals of gun safety, right? Finger of the trigger, know your target and what's beyond it, your muzzle direction at all times. You need to be proficient with your reloads. You need to be comfortable doing reloads. You need to be comfortable drawing out of the holster. You need to be able to move and handle your firearm in a way that you're consistently being safe, and understand where you're pointing your muzzle. Understand that when you're moving with your firearm from one place to the next, your finger needs to be outside of the trigger guard. So those are the fundamentals that you should be proficient with before you go and shoot one of these matches, right? If you're brand new to shooting, if you're brand new, you just picked up a gun for the first time, maybe you went to the range once or twice and you really don't have the fundamentals, I would not recommend you signing up for one of those matches, right? Go and get some training, become familiar with the fundamentals first, right? Once you're comfortable drawing from your holster, you're comfortable, being able to do reloads, comfortable handling your firearm, engaging multiple targets comfortably, safely. That's the key, right? Safely. Then go ahead, by all means. Like I said, you don't need to be an expert, right? None of us are experts, or none of us were experts when we started. However, I've been to a couple of matches where I've seen guys get DQ'd because of safety reasons, right? One match I was at, it was a still challenge. It was a new shooter, and when he came, went through the safety brief. It was his first time shooting a still challenge, and so I remember him coming. He was on our squad, and a question that I had for him was, "Hey, are you brand new to shooting, or are you brand new to like the challenge?" And he was like, "No, I've been shooting since I was 5 years old." So he shot his strings, and at his last string, he didn't wait for the RO to tell him if you're finished, unload and show clear. He just went to holster immediately with his finger still on the trigger, and that gun went off, pierced his thigh. And so, these are the things I'm talking about, right? Be comfortable before you go to these massive matches. Understand the safety protocols, the safety rules. Be comfortable with your firearm prior to jumping into like a USPSA, IDP, and so on. So you are comfortable. You've been getting some training. You got your fundamentals down. Hey, jump in. You're gonna have a great time. Be safe. And if this video was helpful, consider a thumbs up, subscribing, leave a comment. I probably didn't cover every single detail or every single aspect, but I try my best to give you guys at least the basics of what you need to get started. So if I miss anything, drop a question, a comment. I always look at my comments, and I'll respond. So get out there, shoot, be safe, guys.